Welcome into this place. Welcome to this broken vessel. I know I'm early, but I'm starting. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift our voice as we offer up the praise unto your name. Here we are once again, Father God. We just ask that you would use our lips of clay, that you would give us what to say and how to say it. We certainly will make sure you are glorified. Amen and amen. Listen, this is Dr. Porter McCray, and I know I'm early. I know it. You know why I'm early? Because I'm excited about who I have. It's important to me that, we do everything on time. Oh, I still got 2 minutes before you come. You don't want me to keep singing, do you? Because I will. So I just, tell you a little bit about my day while I'm waiting on you to come. It was a wonderful day. Now that I think about it, I played taxi cab, Uber driver for my granddaughter. That's what retirement is. You ain't got nothing else to do but pick them up and drop them off. I don't know who came up with that idea. But I told you one time when I was fussing about doing it, and somebody said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I have to drop Logan off at school." And the thought came to me just as plain as day. Marquise, I love you. You don't have to do anything. You get to do it. So I get to take her to school, and I had lunch with some friends. We have 2 girlfriends who we make it a conscious decision to come together to do a check-in. We provide one another with a safe space, so we just tell it like a T.I. is, okay? And I love them. And we always bring each other little gifts. It's so funny. None of us need anything, okay? But a lot of it is the thought that goes behind it. And so we just pass the little bags and, ooh, like little kids, and thank you. So, Marquise, how was your day? We are here in the Hope Haven. What is the Hope Haven? It is the dwelling place of possibilities. It's where we've come since October 1st, 2016. Marquise is where we've held on to one another, hoped for one another. We were right here during the pandemic when we couldn't go out and be a part of the world at all. Hi, Lenore. And we just fellowship. We connected. We made it through. We kept one another from going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I'm telling you, right? Didn't we do it? And so God brought us through that. And so we've come through depression. Hey, Renee Abrams, we've come through sickness and death and break-ins. And, we've just come together. And that's what we are, right, Renee? A connection station. While I'm thinking about that, I want to Hall, her mommy transition. She was 100 years and 1/2. So please lift up Catherine Hall in prayer. We're also praying for Lady Gilmore. We're just lifting up Haiti. Huh? Right. We're praying for our government, our rulers, our leaders. Whether you like them or not, you still need to pray because they have the rule over us. So what we want is God's perfect will to be done. And that's that. So we want to thank God for the first 24, where we get up in the morning, wash our face, brush our teeth. And for the first 24 minutes of the day, we come into our sacred spaces. Now, everybody may not have a room like this. You could do it at the kitchen table. I think it's just good to sit down and say, what are my marching orders for today? Because we ain't in control of nothing, right? Where should I go? What should I do? And then, hi, Ankie Marie. Oh, hi. Let me see. Corliss James. Hi. We want to thank God also for Angela Triplett, who is here tonight in Hope Haven. Just buried her son, 2 weeks ago, I believe. So please, everybody that can, send her some love. It's not easy. It's not easy. So do me a favor and go ahead and share this page, because you're going to be so glad you did. I also am grateful for the Voices of Black Mothers United and Sylvia Bennett, who is our fearless leader. Sylvia's daughter was murdered, and guess what? She was a praise dancer. So Sylvia and I are working on some things in Ghana to memorialize her daughter right there at the Gloria Pointer School in Africa. Did you know I have 5 schools over there? Oh. Yeah. So anyway, also get ready. Kim, I love you. In September of 2026. So I'm giving you enough time to get your pennies counted up, because we're going to do this, Kim. We're going to go. So please keep that in mind. But in the meantime, if you'd like to help me to feed and educate children in Africa, all you got to do is go to $HopeHaven1 and make your contribution. What's so beautiful about this work that we're doing there, if you give me $50, which would feed an entire village, $50 goes. There's no $20 fee for this or whatever. I just send the whole $50. So you might want to say, well, Dr. Pointer, I'm going to help you. Did you know a teacher, hi Mary Ellen from New Jersey, a teacher in Ghana makes $40 a month in our schools. Y'all know y'all spend that in the coffee shop. What if you said, well, for 1 month, I'm just not going to drink coffee. I'm going to send this money to help feed and educate children. I'm grateful for Dane Van Adder, who gave me $50 the other day because we planted a garden, right? And he buys the seeds. But while they hey Gail Matthews, while they're trying to buy the seeds, the battery went down on the truck. So they're like, Madame, we need a new battery. So y'all already know I ain't got it, right? I just look like I got it. But if you don't donate, then we don't be able to bless them. So thank you, Dane. Thank you, Constance Hawk, for her donation. We were able to buy some little chicks. The chicks grew up to be chickens. The chickens lay the eggs. They eat the eggs. Then they eat the chickens, unfortunately. And we have to start the process all over. So if you would like to be a blessing, $HopeHaven1. I want you to know, I am grateful for Mike Berry. You know, Mike Berry's house burnt down. He was here the other day and talked to us about what he's going through. And man, he blessed me, so I got to tell you what he said. Because some days, I know y'all look at me like I got it all together and there's nothing wrong. And that is the day that there's calamities going on in my personal life. And so Mike Berry said to me today, oh, Lord, we got Brandon Coleman in here. I know it's going to be some stuff right now. God bless you. He said to me, even Superman had his kryptonite. Marla, that just released me. Because we want it to be perfect all the time. We want to appear strong. When you think about the fact that Superman had something that challenged his strength. Come on, Brandon Coleman, I know you're going to preach this one. He has something that challenged his strength. So as we're going through, Marla, I just want you all to remember, even Superman had his kryptonite. And so there was also someone who knew his weakness. How about that? How about that? Lex Luthor. Y'all didn't know I knew nothing about Superman, right? But Lex Luthor. Anki, it's people that know how to get to you. They throw the kryptonite in your face. So I'm just so grateful that Superman always came out a winner. Yes, thank you, Sean. Sean has been a blessing to me. Oh Lord, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope Haven, look, I'm through talking because I have sitting next to me someone who has just always been an inspiration. I'm not even gonna try to introduce her. I'm gonna let her do it herself. But would y'all do me a favor and help me welcome the Judge Patricia? Is it Ann?
Yes.
Ann Blackmon. Did they used to call you Patricia Ann?
Trisha Ann.
Trisha Ann.
Yeah.
All right.
More Trisha Ann than Patricia.
All right, Trisha Ann.
Yeah.
Well, I ain't gonna say Trisha Ann.
Yeah.
What? Anyway,
That's
and
okay.
then do people still refer to you as Judge even though you retired?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a long story because when you retire in Ohio, then you can't go around telling people you're a judge because you're no longer a judge because you're aged out at 70.
So do you say formally
or retired?
Retired.
And if people want to call me judge, I don't interrupt them.
I'm going to always call you the judge.
But I'm not telling you to call me
No,
judge.
you're not. No, you're not.
Okay.
But before Angela, listen, they said that's her namesake. So before we get to, they said that's why Papa had to eat spinach. Girl, let me tell you, bring me a can over here, would you? Trisha Ann Blackmon. We like to talk about the little girl of my guests. Because people need to know who you were so we can celebrate who you became. So I know your whole story, but why don't you take us back to that little girl? Where was she from? Did she have any sisters and brothers? What was her like?
Well, it's so interesting that you're asking me about this because I am in the process of writing my first memoir. And it details the eyes of a 6-year-old. And I talk about that whole experience as a 6-year-old living in Jackson, Mississippi. Jim Crow South, 1957.
Did you have to drink out the separate fountains?
Absolutely.
Hope Haven.
If we ever went downtown, we had to.
Hope Haven, y'all got a living legend tonight. Y'all better tag somebody. So what was her life
Well,
like?
This is the beauty of my growing up. I have to fast forward to 1991 when I became a judge.
Okay.
I became the first African American woman elected to the Court of Appeals in the state of Ohio. And the Court of Appeals is our second level court.
So we got a first timer.
Yes, that's how I ended up in the Ohio Women's Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Because of that contribution that I made. But during that time, I interviewed my mother. I did a recording of our interview, and I asked her all kinds of questions.
Wow.
Like, why was she crying on that day in 1957? And I'm not going to spoil it because I was talking to one of my ex-clerks, and I said, you know, I have this idea for my first memoir because I'm always struggling. Every time I sit down to write my story, I end up writing my mother's story.
Oh.
And so...
Because your mother had a story too.
Oh, my mother had a magnificent story.
We need to hear her story.
And so what I did was I decided to have that interview transcribed, and it's going to be in the front part of the book. Biographies and memoirs that people write. I'm thinking about my principal people that I admire, Barbara Streisand, whose memoir was 700 pages long.
Uh-huh.
And that's what happens to you. And what I wanted to do was to write like Maya Angelou. And so she wrote her biographies in different books. And if you can do that, you reduce it to a smaller story, but it's a compact story. And that's what I wanted to do. So fast forward, or backwards. My mother had 11 children.
What? In Mississippi?
And she was born and raised in Oxford. She had her first child when she was in her 20s. And then she married my father and had children. And I'm not going to get into that story because that's a part of the book. But what was so interesting about my mother is that when my father deserted her on that day in 1957, she had to make a decision. Was she going to return to Oxford with her father and raise her children in Oxford, Mississippi, or was she going to make sure that all of her kids stayed together and they weren't shipped off to different places or go to welfare? So she became a housekeeper at the University of Mississippi, the hospital in Jackson. And she worked there until she became the head of that division. And she raised all of her kids. And so she said to me, I have to reveal this little piece. She said, because my question was, what did you do when you found out that your husband had deserted you? And she said, I prayed to God to send a father for my children.
Wow.
And he's 14 years old.
Wow.
So imagine raising children in Mississippi with a 14-year-old who drops out of school to become the housekeeper and the person who helps to raise us. That was a powerful decision on her part, because I do point out in the interview, you could have gone home to your father's house.
She made it do what it do.
Yeah, she was so strong. I mean, just magnificent.
What was her name?
Willie D. Blackmon.
Willie D. Blackmon.
Yes.
We like to say their names.
Yes. And she was so brilliant. And I think about her all the time, and I have that energy of what she gave to me.
So she had all these children, raised them to become Hall of Famers.
Yes.
And judges.
And my siblings, teachers, own their own business in Mississippi.
Wow.
My brother, a film editor in LA.
Wow.
So they all did something. And this is what I tell people all the time.
Tell it.
Is that you may think that the worst has happened, but you don't know what the example you are setting for the rest of the siblings who are looking at you. So they looked at me and saw that you could go to college.
Were you the oldest?
I became the oldest in this generation, but I was not the oldest. My brother was the oldest, and then I had two other siblings who were older than I.
Okay.
And I actually am the middle of that 11 children. But what they saw me do, the 5, 6 that were below me, they became inspired by that. And my baby sister graduated from Tougaloo College as well.
I used to always love to hear you say Tougaloo.
Because most people want to say something else. They don't know what to do with that word, because it is a Choctaw word. And it's and one time people asked, well, what does Tougaloo mean? And somebody said, well, the Native Americans who lived in that area, the Tougaloo. So were they talking about a river, or were they talking about the sky, or were they talking about the energy that flowed through that area? But Tougaloo was a fabulous school.
What was college like then? I mean, was it? Come on, bring us back to your college days.
Well, for me, it was, I worked to be able to go to college.
Was it all black college?
It's a historically black college.
Okay,
It's one of the most famous historically black colleges.
And is it still open?
Yes.
Okay.
And it has produced some magnificent people. I can't name them all.
Judge Patricia and Blackmon is one.
Well, and then there's Constance Slaughter, who graduated from the University of Mississippi's law school, where they wouldn't even admit people before the 1900s. And so you have that energy that comes from Mississippi. But that's just one person, because she was one of my teachers at Tougaloo. And so I'm always remembering her and thanking her for the inspiration that she gave me. But what my life was like, I actually commuted from home to Tougaloo.
Wow.
Because it was cheaper for me to take the bus that Tougaloo provided for the students who lived in Jackson. And I think Tougaloo was about 7 miles from Jackson, the city. And so it was easy to be able to actually take a bus and go to classes. And I loved that experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, did you always know you wanted to be in law?
Oh my goodness. That is a wonderful question.
I'm glad.
Because when I turned 14, I told my grandfather, who was my inspiration as well. He built houses for blacks in Mississippi and in Oxford. And so the University of Ole Miss, or the University of Mississippi, is right next to what they used to call Freemantown. So when the slaves were freed, they moved into this particular area. And I always say, so that they could then become the help that would work at the university. But he lived there and built houses for other blacks. And the last house that he built was actually torn down maybe 20 years ago, maybe even longer than that.
Was your granddad a slave?
No, his father's father was a slave.
Okay.
My grandfather was a sharecropper.
Okay.
And then he became a carpenter, building houses for blacks. And in that particular area, right outside of the entrance to the University of Ole Miss. Wow. And when people see James Meredith trying to enter into the University of Mississippi, there's a tree that people are hanging out of. That was on Mr. Price's property, and that was where my grandfather was living. And so this history, that's why I told my grandfather first that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I wanted to return to Mississippi to help my people, because we needed some inspiration. And we had been told by so many prominent people. Medgar Evers' wife spoke to us and said we were race people. We were designed to be the healers of our race and to be better than what they thought we were. And they gave us a blessing as Southerners and said, it is your responsibility to go forward and make us a better group of people. And they inspired all of us to do that. We would have lectures at Tougaloo where you would be inspired to know that this is your role. It is not enough just to go to college to make money. It is enough to go to college so that you can spread the energy to all humans.
You know, we got Shirley Sappho.
Oh, yes. Oh, that is so wonderful.
They gave you responsibility.
They told us we were race people.
That
we were responsible for our race. If we did something negative, it reflected on who we were as a people. And that happens all the time. You can be sitting and watching television and something bad happens and the first thing you think of is, I sure hope it's not somebody black.
Girl.
Don't we all do it?
Girl. It's not a black person.
Because we have been told that we are responsible for each other, but nobody else is told that, right? But that's just my philosophy about it.
So you grew up as a 6-year-old little girl, 14, I want to be a lawyer. Then you went on to college.
Yes, but I had inspiration before college. And that inspiration was when because of where we lived, there was segregated schools. So there was a school, elementary school and a high school, not minutes from our back door. But we couldn't go to that school because blacks were segregated. So I went to Lanier High School. And Lanier is one of the great high schools in Jackson, Mississippi. And by going to Lanier, I met Grace Sweet, who was my biology teacher. And she inspired me to be who I became also. So I have all these mentors.
Well, how did she inspire you?
Well, she first of all said to me, you need to go to college and you can work for me and save your money. And I babysat her children, who are now Dennis Sweet, who is a lawyer in Mississippi. And I have to believe that I inspired Dennis to do this. His sister, Denise Sweet, became the first African-American judge since Reconstruction in Jackson.
Wow.
These
and you
are the
babysat
Sweets, and I babysat them. Well, they probably would disagree that they probably think I was babysitting the very youngest one who became a doctor.
Wow.
And she's also a doctor without borders, and that's Salika Sweet.
Can I ask you, with all of this history, what happened to us? I mean,
well, I don't think, I think we have to, yes, I think we have to realize that there's always, it's not what happens to you. I can't remember what you said, but it struck me that you are put here to do better than you thought. And that it's a wonderful experience, but what we have is these doors that get closed in our closed.
But you had doors then closed in your face.
Oh, no question. But we went around them. We didn't let it become a process in our lifestyle.
Yeah.
We pulled out. We did exactly what Jesse Jackson said. We pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps. And don't forget, when Jesse Jackson is making that speech, he says there was a shovel fitted for my hands. I was only meant to be a product to work in their fields. And so I used to tell people, I knew as a kid that there was an apron fitted for my body, that I was supposed to be a maid, that I was supposed to work. And so my mom took me to work with her one night where she cleaned buildings in Jackson. And I said to her, I said, I love you,
but this
is not me.
Come on.
This is not me.
Come on.
This is not me. And so I inspired myself to go to college. And I'll never forget when I told my mom that I was going to college, and she said, hon, I can't help you. And I said, don't worry, I have a full scholarship. And I'm going to stay at home, and I'm going to, and then I met all these wonderful people who took care of me. to make sure that I had all of the books, everything that I needed to succeed. And then I had professors who invested in me. And I'll never forget when I told my mom I was going to Cleveland to go to law school, because I had already told my grandfather. And my grandfather knew that I had a cousin in Cleveland. And he called Charles and his wife, Georgia, and he told him that I was coming to Cleveland. And many, I think even Judge Sappho knows his daughter. And it just was such a richness for me to have a relative that I could count on. But my grandfather did that. He never even told me.
Well, but when we would come home from school as children, we were like, well, who is that? Oh, that's your cousin from Mississippi. That's your cousin from Memphis. So my father would welcome his family to stay with us. Let me just say, Hope Haven, do me a favor, share this. We have the former judge, Patricia and Blackmon. I'm so honored. I'm so honored. But we've been friends for many years. And I want you all to hear this. This is like rich information. And we saw each other at Lee Fisher's inauguration as the president of Baldwin Wallace. And she said, what made you ask me to come? What made you say yes?
Well, because of our relationship and our friendship. And I hadn't seen you in so many years. Yeah. And I was like, I remember when you were inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame. Were we the same year? No, you were 1991. And then I was 1995.
Sarah Harper and I, the same year.
Same year. Because I think she was inducted because she was the first African-American woman to graduate from Case Western Reserve
And I was
Law.
Inducted because I just would not quit.
Yes. And I think that is the inspiration of Hope Haven. Yeah. Don't you?
Yeah.
That we don't quit.
Our
ancestors didn't quit.
They didn't quit.
No matter what they do to us, no matter how evil things happen to us.
We don't quit.
We don't. And that's why I think hope is in my life a lot these days.
Look at you got Cheryl Wilshire here.
Oh,
Listen, Hope Haven, we're talking with the judge, Patricia Ann Blackmon, former judge, but I can still say judge. But I just know over the years, I was always inspired by her tenacity. I was always inspired. And I felt because she was always approachable, always reachable. Remind me of Stephanie, Tubbs Jones, and how wonderful she was. But you went to college to be a lawyer. Then you came to Cleveland. What happened?
Well, I was in Cleveland. I came to Cleveland to go to law school. And I was actually, I only applied to 3 different law schools.
Okay.
And I applied to Georgetown because it was in Washington, D.C., where my uncle lived. I applied to Cleveland State because they had an affirmative action program. Wow. And other schools did not.
Wow.
And then I applied to, I think it was one other college that I applied to. NYU. I wanted to go to New York because I love New York. I just can't help it. I still do.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was immediately accepted. This is the fun part of being accepted. I was accepted to law school and was told to be in Cleveland in June of 1972 in the summer, because we had to go to summer school so that we could be brought up to the level of other students who had done well on the LSAT, and the test that they use to determine whether you can go to law school. And
were there any other blacks in the class?
Oh yes, okay. We were all black.
Oh,
they actually I think it was 25 of us that were accepted into law school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of the action of 3 people. Ann Aldrich, who became a professor at the law school and then a federal judge. She knew that there was something missing in the day school at Cleveland Marshall College of Law.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, there are no black people here. And there were plenty of blacks in the night school because that's where all of the people like George Forbes and the different lawyers who worked during the day could go to law school at night. And she said, this needs to change. And there were other people who thought the same way. There was one African American who was there were several, I think maybe 5 African Americans who attended law school. And Dave Forrest was the president of the Black Students, Law Students Association, BALSA. And then there was another individual who was the head of LISCRIC, which was the Legal Careers Opportunity. I know that was the name of the program, the LCOP program that we entered into. And there was Bruce Elfin, who lived next door to Ann Aldrich. His parents lived next door to Ann Aldrich in Shaker Heights. And I always called her the professor. She, the dean, when she went to the dean and encouraged him to have an LCOP program or an affirmative action program, he said there are no blacks who are interested in going to law school.
Oh, really?
And she said to him, well, I know where there are plenty. And so they actually took the Sherman Trail down through the South that he did during the Civil War. And they went to the historically black colleges.
Wow.
All of them. And there were 5 of us that were chosen.
Wow.
One from Spelman, one from Morehouse, one from Florida A&M. Ooh. And there was one other, me from Tougaloo, and one other person. And we were all given a scholarship to come to law school.
And that had never happened before.
Never. It was under the Nixon administration that this program was started, which is affirmative action. Now it's DEI that they are fighting. But what they're not saying is that the affirmative action program ended in 1976 in the Baca decision from the Supreme Court. So there's no such thing as affirmative action anymore. DEI came about because of the killing of George Floyd. So they're trying to make it seem as if this is a process that has happened for a long period of time.
But it wasn't.
That's not true. The affirmative action program ended in 1976 because that's when the Baca decision happened. But Cleveland State continued its affirmative action program because they opened it up to all people. So it was never based on quotas or race. It was based on opportunity and whether you needed an opportunity.
And so the people today that need the opportunities won't get them?
Well, they are. It just depends on how these programs exist under this administration. I don't want to get into that conversation. But I'm just saying that it is a magnificent what Cleveland State did for us and what Cleveland State is doing, because it's giving people who deserve to go to law school an opportunity they wouldn't otherwise get, because it's based, and what people, it's based on test taking. And what people don't realize is that just because you pass a test doesn't mean that you're qualified to be a lawyer. Right. It just means that you're qualified based on that standard.
Yeah.
And if you understand and appreciate how tests are given, then you understand why some people, you get so nervous you can't think. But there are a lot of brilliant humans.
Yeah.
And they're black, white, and Asian and all who have gone through these processes and have been successful. So it's about the opportunity, not about race, and not about that DEI performance that they're going to pick somebody to do this. If you are being interviewed, they know that you're good material to work. Nobody is giving you a free ride.
Right, right.
This is absurd. You have to earn your way. For you. What's wrong with that?
Well, Fannie Lewis, and welcome Margaret Bernstein, welcome C. Randolph Keller to the Hope Haven. Fannie Lewis came right to this house. And I said, Miss Lewis, I want to do this. And I was giving her this whole spiel about how I needed to be involved with making the world better, making the community safer. And I thought, okay, Miss Lewis, open this door. And she looked at me, she said, it don't work like that. Those are her exact words. Oh. She said, it's people been doing this long before you got here. So you find the end of the line and get in it. I took her words, where's the line? And she said, you just do what you ever have to do to get to that table. So I started volunteering. I was doing everything everybody else didn't want to do. And it's not that I was the smartest, but it was that you was not going to get me out of this line because I was committed to getting to the table. And Miss Lewis was my inspiration. Now, she didn't open the door, but she at least pointed me to the door.
Well, these are things that happen. The Affirmative Action Program and the Upward Bound Program, all of these programs were started under the Nixon administration. And they were designed to give people a hand up, not to give them a free ride, but a hand up. Just open the door for me. Is that similar? Did she say she told you where the door was?
Well, she even came here. She didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
You understand? She could have said, you come and see me. Yeah. But she came to this house, and I used it as a challenge. In other words, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what my experience was. I took a bus to Cleveland. And I promised myself I would never get on another bus, but because it took 36 hours for me to get here.
I believe it.
To get off at Chester Avenue. But this was the interesting part of Cleveland. And I needed to take the bus and get there. She said, I can't help you. I said, don't worry.
Oh.
Now, I actually have figured this out when I was a kid in college, when I was in my early 20s, before I graduated from Tougaloo. I went to my professors, and I told two professors, I said, I'm forming my own corporation. It's to help Patricia Blackmon get to Cleveland. And I'd like you to invest in it. And Dean Dittmer wrote me a check. Dean Holloway gave me cash. And so when I was talking to my mom, and she said, I can't even afford to buy your bus ticket. I said, don't worry, I have it all figured out.
Wow.
And when I arrived in Cleveland, the school they told us that there were certain professors who were going to give us housing for the summer, but that was it. And I said, that's fair. And I told my mom, I have enough money to get me to Cleveland and to get me back. And I was just, I did a speech at Tougaloo one year called Lucky Street, which is going to be a part of my biography. And I was pretty lucky that things worked out And I always used to tell people, because I saw this movie where Paul Newman played the boxer, and he says, somebody up there likes me. And the only person I knew who had passed was my grandmother. And I always said, my grandmother's up there taking care of me.
But and you had this determination and hope, which is why when you hear me saying hello to different people, why we do this every night. Because we're determined to remain hopeful. Now,
do you do this every night?
Monday through Friday.
Oh my word.
Since 2016.
I am impressed.
And anybody that wants to come and tell your story, you can do it. But had you not taken advantage of the opportunity, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right. And that is so true. And I wanted so desperately to be a lawyer. And I wanted to return to Mississippi, but Judge Aldridge convinced me that it would be much more beneficial for me to become a lawyer in Ohio because of this system of being able to be admitted on motion. If you practice for 5 years, you can move anywhere and be admitted on motion, except for the traditional schools. Like, you can't do that in California or Florida or New York, because then everybody would be moving to those places. But she was the one who convinced me to take the Ohio bar.
Now, Sean said this conversation should be taken to public platforms with young people in the audience. Y'all see why I asked her to come? Huh? No, because you got it. Margaret, she's writing her memoir. Let me tell you something you said that struck me. When I was a little girl growing up in Huff, inner city, I would always ask my mom, why do people live like this? Because I was an avid reader. And I would read about places like Alaska and China and the Great Wall. And I would say to her, why are people content with this nothingness? And my mother, who was 10 of us, and she was weary. I love her today. She's going to be with the Lord. I get it. But she said, girls, go sit down. You're getting on my nerves. Because she would say, that's just the way it is. And I said, well, Mom, who said that? I said, don't you want to see the world? I knew as a child there had to be more than this. I just couldn't believe when I would hear about Dr. King out and everything. Why do they get to drink out of the white fountain? You know, I was always asking questions.
Me too. Me too.
And so, Marsha, when I would say to my surrounding friends, one day I'm going to go to Alaska. And they would always say, you're not going to do that because people like us don't do that. And I would say, who said that? Who told you that? So I got to tell you, Judge Blackmon, I fell into it and I let the dream slip. Did just what they said. You drop out of school, you get pregnant. That's as far as you go to this circumference. But God, by his grace and mercy, gave me a second chance. And one of the first things I did was flew to Alaska.
Oh.
Yes, I did. And my mother would say, why are you going to Alaska? I said, Mom, because I want to see the place where the sun don't set for 6 months.
Oh,
I just want to see it. So I got on a plane with myself and flew to Alaska. And oh my God, it was everything the book said. I got a chance to go to Australia. I got a chance to go to Pompeii, to Pisa. And I always encourage people. See Randolph Keller? I do. I said, there's more to it than this.
Oh my goodness!
And there go Randy. There go Randy.
Yeah, there's Randy. He was my first law clerk.
He's amazing.
He in Sanford, and I see Margaret.
Margaret is there.
Yeah.
But you all share this. You have to go for it, right?
Oh.
You said you had enough money for a ticket here and a ticket back. You didn't say nothing about rent and food, and so you had to trust that a way was going. If you take the first step, Is that what they said? God will take the next one? I don't
Well,
know.
I think my mom always said that the Lord will make a way out of no way. And I believed what she believed. But it was even better than this. What was so bizarre is I was able to go home in in Jackson, to celebrate my birthday in August. So remember, I'd been here in June of 1972, and then August of 1972. And so I go back to Mississippi. And I just remembered the third college that I applied to, and it was in Texas Southern.
Okay.
And that's where I wanted to go because it was historical also. And I had met all these wonderful, and I wanted to go. And I had been to the Delta Convention in Houston, and I had met all these law students. And so I go home, and I'm going through my mail, and I find out that I was also accepted at Texas Southern. And I was accepted at Cleveland State, but I was living in Cleveland. So I said to my mom, I said, why didn't you tell me about this? And she said, I didn't want you to have to make a difficult decision. And I was like, oh my goodness, I wanted to go to Texas Southern so bad. And she said, are you productive where you are? No. I said, yes, I'm not, I would not get upset with my mom for the choice that she made for me. She changed my life.
Wow.
Suppose I had gone back and gone to Texas Southern and didn't make it.
Yeah, because you had a lucrative career here.
Yeah.
Again, you were the first African American female.
And I was only that for because Judge Harper chose February 12th to be sworn in, and I chose February 11th. And as a result, I got the honor. I'm kind of like Carl Stokes, you know.
Yeah.
Get the Carl would always tell everybody that he was the mayor of a major city, but he and the mayor of Gary were elected the same year. But it's just status stuff, you know. But yeah. Sarah, I also recognize that Judge Harper and I both did wonderful work while we were on the Court of Appeals.
We love Judge, who just transitioned this year, a few months ago.
Yeah, Judge Shirley Sappho spoke at her service.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking the little judge.
Judge Capers.
Judge Capers.
I just passed by today I was driving home, and I passed by the tennis court there on MLK that is named after her. I interviewed her.
You did?
I tried to get Judge Capers to write her memoir. I tried to get Judge Aldrich to do the same. So we interviewed them. And I still have that interview.
Do you still have it?
Yes.
Margaret, did you hear that? Judge Capers is responsible for my daughter Danielle, who is 45, not biting her nails.
Oh.
Danielle used to bite her nails, and Judge Capers says, come here. Yes. And from that day,
she was so magnificent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Judge Sappho and I used to try cases in her room, and boy, did we have fun. Shirley represented the defense, and I was the prosecutor for Cleveland. And
you have history.
Oh, we do. We all do. We all do.
Yeah. And so when we look out on society today and the world today, we remain hopeful in spite of what we see, don't we?
Right, because the poet Emily Dickinson said, hope is the thing with feathers. It perches in your soul. It sings the tune without the words, and it never stops. It never stops. She's my favorite poet.
Now they're saying, come speak to the youth. See, what are you doing now? Because you retired, so does that mean you just... What?
No, we don't want to be political, but what I've been doing is trying to get around to encourage people to vote.
To vote, that's important.
And I know that they're doing everything in their power to make sure that people are discouraged. But I remember, if I could say this.
Say it.
Barack Obama did something magnificent.
Hey, Pastor Legenda.
He did something magnificent when he ran for president.
They said you spoke of Mother Ellen Pettigrew's.
Go ahead,
yeah.
Mother Pettigrew was a dear friend.
He did something magnificent.
So he won every major city in Ohio. If we put our boots on the ground, and I'm not talking about the new line dance called Boots on the Ground. Yeah, I'm not talking about that one. But if we put our boots on the ground and we get people to vote, we can make a difference in Ohio, and it won't seem so torn apart that we can't do this. Our ancestors did it.
Because you came from the society, the time when they did that. The voting was important.
That's right, because they were taking the right to vote away from blacks. Many peanuts were in a bowl in order to be able to register to vote. They made sure that you couldn't vote if you didn't have property. It was so many barriers that were thrown in front of us, and our ancestors never, ever gave up. They never gave up. And we always had the inspiration of someone like a Martin Luther King. Now we are our own inspiration.
Yeah.
It's what we do. You said something about hope. It is maybe the Superman analogy was that he had kryptonite being thrown at him. Now we throw the kryptonite at ourselves.
Come on.
Don't you think?
Yes.
We don't feel the compassion of mindfulness. We embrace the negative bias that we have inside of us. And we don't need that because our system is so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than our negativity bias. We're always, the first thing that comes up is something bad. It's something negative. And that's because there is some negativity draining us of our inspiration right now. And it's not coming from the ground. It's coming straight from one person's mouth. And that negativity is what is holding us and keeping us from doing the things that we need to
But
do.
if we are the hope and the dream of the slaves, you have an obligation.
And I'll tell you this. This is a story that I tell to a lot of people when they say to me, well, what inspires you? Well, what inspires me is the fact that my mother insisted that all of her children, when they reached voting age, had to register to vote. That was a mandate from one person who saw Martin Luther King on a flatbed truck in Jackson, Mississippi, inspiring people to do the best that they could be. So she made sure that all of her children were registered to vote. And so I'm standing in line in the last two elections. I think it was 2 years, the Biden, when Biden ran. And this woman was standing next to me, or sitting next to me, and she said, why do you vote? I said, I vote for my mother. And I vote for my ancestors. And I vote for everybody who died so that we would have the right to vote. Because what inspires and what makes this country a democracy is the right to vote. And it happened in the 14th Amendment, in the 15th Amendment with citizenship. There's so many people who don't even know what the 14th Amendment means, but it is that process that created democracy. And the founders were not the best human beings. Believe me, they were slave owners. They weren't the best human beings, but they were the ones who wanted a more perfect union because they knew it was not perfect with them. So they wanted this to be better, to be a better union. And that's why they wanted a democracy. They had looked at all of it, and they wanted one thing. And this is in the history book that was written by Jill Lepore called These Truths. And people need to read it because it gives you history that you don't get anymore. And it says, we don't have a king, we have presidents. And we don't have a subject, we have citizens. And we are citizens because we were given citizenship in the 15th Amendment, and we have the constitutional right to vote.
Somebody type that book down. Say his name again.
Her name is Jill Lepore, Lepore. She's a professor. If you go on YouTube, you'll see her being interviewed by The Daily Show. She is magnificent in how she wrote this book. We are citizens. We are not subjects. Let's hold on to our rights.
Hope Haven, I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm blessed because I get the privilege to be friends with someone like Judge Patricia Blackmon. And
it's the feeling is mutual.
I got to give a shout out to Lee Fisher. Because who but Lee Fisher can bring us all together early in the morning?
Oh, my goodness.
And, you know, he's getting ready to get honored again. It's something that...
at Cleveland State.
Yes.
It's the sponsors.
Well, Peggy called me. She said, "Are you coming?" I'm like, "I wouldn't be anywhere else."
But I will be there.
I'll be there.
We are, and I became a member of the Hall of Fame because of Lee.
Wow.
And I was given an honorary doctorate, Melody Stewart and I, because of Lee.
Wow.
And
Isn't he wonderful?
And he made me a jurist in residence because he has this magnificent view. And I'll tell you something else. When the court had my retirement, we're all there. I was going to give a speech. And Lee gets up and he says, "I want to announce tonight that we're starting the Blackmon Aldrich Scholarship Fund for the LCOP program." And I lost my mind and I couldn't even speak after that. And I am so proud of what he did with that program. And I made one change. I said it should be Aldrich Blackmon. And I made the first donation. And I'm continuing to inspire people to make donations to that scholarship fund because these students deserve it. I deserved it. Judge Sappho deserved it. Those of us who paved the way, we opened up the path that people can walk through, and we know what it feels like, and we can do it. And so we have this scholarship fund. That's a shout out for the scholarship fund.
Hey, tell them how they donate.
Yes, all you have to do is go online to Cleveland State University College of Law and put in the LCOP program, LCOP, the Scholarship Fund of Blackmon, Aldrich Blackmon Scholarship Fund for the LCOP program.
Now, Randy said, imagine the pleasure and educational experience of going to work for this giant of a woman every day.
Oh my goodness, he made me better than that. I mean, the man can write. He's such an excellent writer. I just meeting him and meeting his mom and knowing him all these years and to see what he did.
And it's still doing.
It's still doing.
Let me tell you about Lee one time. I was working for Medical Mutual, and Lee shows up at my job. This is when he was
story.
And he walked in, he said, I want you to come and work for me. And so by then, Medical Mutual had trained me in all of these areas. And I went to the president. I said, I'm going to work with Lee Fisher. Listen, you can't leave us. We just got you all trained to do these programs. Wow. And then Lee said, and not only do I want you to work for me, I want you to introduce me at my inauguration.
Isn't that something? How he does these kinds of things? I knew he did that.
Yeah, he did.
And he has that first brain of his gives him the rationale, and he gets that inspiration, and before you know it, it's history.
And then what about the president of Cleveland State said he knew every student in that class. Oh. And when they were coming up to get there, he said, her father just died. They just came back from a vacation. So he has this brilliant mind. Y'all tell Lee we were talking about him. So anyway, Hope Haven, our time is up. Would you come back one day?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because this hour was not long enough. We just love you. We appreciate you. And I'm going to take the advice of so many who said, do you go to schools and talk to young people? Okay. Yeah. So if you all have a group and you want her to come, I think that would be wonderful. And
I'm speaking, I hate to interrupt you.
No, you're not.
Okay. I am speaking tomorrow at a luncheon for the LCOP program at BW.
Oh.
And what is so interesting is when I first became a judge, they invited me to speak there. My brother's grandson actually was in the program at BW.
Wow.
And his mother, who is a wonderful human, has raised such a wonderful young man. And he looks just like my brother.
Now, he's a lawyer now?
No, he is going to Cleveland State.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't want to put his name out. And,
that's okay. Listen, Hope Haven, what about the people? How do they reach you? Because we don't put our phone numbers out there. And I understand you're not on Facebook.
That's so true. I don't do social media, and I don't do it well. But I did have a Twitter account. I must admit, I kind of enjoy doing Twitter, but I don't do Facebook.
What about emails? Because somebody's going to get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
So what's your email? Let's put that out there.
Okay, it's WPAB 56 at yahoo.com.
All right, WPAB56 at yahoo.com.
And please tell me who you are when you email me, because if I don't recognize something that inspires me to open it, I won't open.
You can say, I saw you in Hope Haven.
That's all you need to say.
Marquise, we're praying for your son. Listen. I'd like to give them, in closing, a homework assignment. Something that they need to do from hearing you. Is it something that you would say to them? I want y'all to do this for homework.
It's something that I do every day. When I first wake up, I am inspired to get up. And I know what my day is going to be like. I don't listen to every negative thought that jumps into my mind, because you have to realize that we were given a survival technique that happens from our eyes that talks to our brain. It is not real information. It is survival information. And so, because I believe so strongly in mindfulness, I tell people all the time, take a minute when you first wake up to breathe and to watch. And now they have new statistics that says that if you breathe in and let the breath out in a ha, like, you are opening up your lungs. And I believe very strongly in mindfulness and forgiveness. And I just understand that because of people fall. And to hold a problem in your heart and keep it in your mind, it does nothing but activate the negative bias.
It's WPAB 56, not D. WPAB 56 at yahoo.com. So your homework assignment is when you wake up, first of all, just to wake up is a miracle all by itself. Take a deep breath and let it out with a ha, right?
And stretch.
And stretch. See, she got to come back and tell us so much more. We are Ohio Women's Hall of Fame. So we share that in common, just to be in the category with these amazing women.
You have to let Loretta know that that is not correct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. It's W. Patricia Ann Blackmon. Maybe that's helpful. PAB 56 at yahoo.com.
And donate to the scholarship.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
Any amount, right?
Any amount.
Yeah, the more
Any
the
amount. Yeah.
She has some history, y'all, I'm telling you.
Oh,
I love you so much.
Thank you.
What a mighty God we serve. Hope Haven, thank you. I hope to see you soon. Wasn't that nice?
It was.
It was nice.
Absolutely.
All right, God bless you.